Perseus stepped forward, broke the chains binding Andromeda's wrists, and freed her. King Seriphos hurried down from the cliffs, overcome with gratitude. He embraced his daughter. Then he turned toward Perseus. "You have saved my kingdom," the king said, "and you have saved my child." Perseus fell in love with Andromeda in the moment he saw her. He seized the opportunity and asked her hand in marriage. Overcome with gratitude, the king gave his consent. For the first time in many days, the kingdom breathed freely again. That night, the palace was filled with celebration. Torches illuminated massive halls of marble and gold. Musicians played. Wine flowed endlessly. As the feast continued, the great doors of the hall suddenly burst open. Phineus entered with armed men behind him. The music stopped instantly. His face burned with humiliation and rage. He pointed toward Perseus. "Andromeda was promised to me!" he shouted. "You stole what belongs to another!"
Phineus was the man who had once been promised Andromeda's hand in marriage. During the sacrifice, he had disappeared. Now, with the danger gone, he returned to claim the reward he had not earned. When he saw Andromeda standing beside Perseus, jealousy consumed him. Soldiers drew swords. Guests fled from the hall. The celebration descended into chaos. Within moments, the palace became a battlefield. Perseus fought fiercely, but Phineus and his men were too many. His grip tightened around the satchel carrying the head of Medusa. He could end the battle instantly, turn the hall into a graveyard of stone. Then, suddenly, amidst the chaos, Perseus saw Andromeda. He realized the truth. He could survive this fight, but Andromeda might not. With sudden urgency, Perseus fought his way toward her instead. Pegasus descended through the storm-dark sky on the palace balcony. Without hesitation, Perseus pulled Andromeda onto Pegasus's back. Phineus screamed in fury from within the hall, and then Pegasus leapt into the sky. The palace rapidly disappeared beneath them as they soared above the coastline and out across the dark sea.
The moment Perseus arrived, the island felt wrong. The people of the island barely recognized him. Their small home stood abandoned, empty. Perseus searched everywhere. People avoided his gaze. Whenever he spoke the name of Danaë, fear appeared in their eyes. Others whispered only one warning: leave the island while you still can. Then, suddenly, a small barefoot boy appeared from behind the narrow streets. "If you want the truth," the child whispered, "go to the old ruined temple outside the city." "Who are you?" Perseus asked. But when he turned fully, the boy was gone, as though he had vanished into the wind itself. As evening descended, Perseus and Andromeda reached the ruined temple. Inside the darkness of the ruined temple, someone was waiting. An old man, exhausted, dressed in worn and tattered clothing. Then the old man lifted his head with relief. Perseus rushed toward him in shock. "Dictys, what happened?" The man before him looked nothing like the strong fisherman he remembered. Then Dictys finally revealed the truth. After Perseus had departed in search of Medusa, Polydectes demanded that Danaë marry him. By that time, Danaë found out how meticulously he sent her son to death, so she refused his proposal. One night, Polydectes sent soldiers to seize her by force. She was dragged from her home screaming, while the people of Seriphos watched. No one intervened. No one dared. I escaped before the king's men found me. Since then, I have hidden here, among the ruins. I stayed alive only to tell you the truth, because no one else will dare to speak. From that night onward, Danaë disappeared into the royal palace. Polydectes forced himself upon her again and again, using power where he could never earn love. He had no idea about the arrival of Perseus. Danaë knew that Perseus would return someday and avenge her. That night, there was a feast at the palace. Polydectes was celebrating. That evening, the palace of Polydectes overflowed once again with music and celebration. The king sat laughing among his nobles, completely unaware of the consequences of his crimes. They all laughed when the king laughed, drank when he drank. Then, suddenly, the great doors of the hall opened. The music stopped. At the entrance stood a lone figure, cloaked in darkness. First, Polydectes only stared in confusion. Then, recognition slowly crept across his face. Perseus? Slowly, he removed the satchel from his side. "What is that?" he demanded. Perseus looked directly at him. "The gift you asked for."
Polydectes' confidence finally began to crack. Then, Perseus opened the satchel and revealed the head of Medusa. Polydectes looked upon the face of Medusa, and instantly his body hardened into stone. The expression of horror remained forever frozen upon his face. Terror exploded through the hall. Some tried to flee, others froze where they stood, but it was already too late. One by one, the nobles beside him suffered the same fate. When it was over, the hall stood completely still, a hall of statues beneath flickering torchlight. Perseus closed the satchel once more, the curse hidden again within darkness. Vengeance had been achieved, yet peace still felt very far away. Then he rescued his mother. Later, Perseus placed Dictys upon the throne of Seriphos. He left the island with his mother Danaë and wife Andromeda. For years, Acrisius believed he had escaped fate, but whispers began reaching Argos. Stories of a young hero, the slayer of Medusa, the rider of Pegasus, the man who defeated Sea Beast and turned Polydectes into stone. Terrified, the king abandoned Argos entirely. He fled his own kingdom. Meanwhile, Perseus journeyed across Greece with Andromeda beside him as one of the greatest heroes of the age. One day, Perseus arrived at a great athletic festival. Kings, warriors, and champions had gathered there from across the Greek to compete before cheering crowds. Among the contests was discus throwing, a test of strength and precision. Perseus entered proudly. The crowd roared as the famous hero stepped forward into the arena. Sunlight gleamed across the polished bronze discus in his hand. Far away, among the spectators, stood an old man, watching silently, a traveler.
Perseus hurled the discus into the sky with tremendous force. It soared powerfully across the arena. Suddenly, the wind shifted. The discus veered violently, straight into the crowd. A sickening impact echoed through the arena. People screamed. The old man collapsed instantly to the ground. When Perseus approached, the blood drained from his face. It was Acrisius, his grandfather. He had unknowingly arrived at the same place. The prophecy had finally come true, not through intention, but through an accident. According to law and blood, the throne of Argos now belonged to Perseus. He had become the rightful king, but overcome with grief and guilt, he considered himself unworthy to rule the kingdom of Argos. Perseus refused to enter the city. He exchanged kingdoms with Megapenthes, ruler of tyrants, and took the less prestigious land. He gave away the head of Medusa to the goddess Athena. Unlike many kings, Perseus did not seek power through cruelty. Together with Andromeda, Perseus ruled wisely and brought prosperity to his people. And thus, the great journey of Perseus came full circle.